What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Malazan server, and it's actually been about a week since I've done any recording whatsoever. I was actually initially about 2 episodes in front of where I was releasing them, which is how comes none of the sort of pillage and village stuff sort of came out until about 4 or 5 days later. But now I've sort of dropped behind on my recording because I've just been busy doing bits and pieces behind the scene. And I wanted to show you the sort of things I have been up to. Now, one is I've been trying to figure out the cosmetic sides for down inside around... Oh, did not mean to break you. For down inside around the slime chunk. And because we're using a lot of wood down there for the tree farms already, I was initially leaning towards the sort of stone recurring pattern going up and around the place. And then I was thinking about doing the birch wood just to make it a little bit brighter. And I was trying to figure out some sort of light sources to put in here, and I couldn't really think of anything. And then I came up with the idea of having it like backed up with water and then using sea pickles on some coral reef behind some glass. And I really liked that. And then after spending ridiculous amounts of hours like digging out the area even further around so then we had enough room for it, I then had to smelt up thousands upon thousands of blocks of the sandstone into smooth sandstone. And then I had to smelt up a whole bunch of sand into glass. And then I had to go ahead and fill it all with water. So I've made quite a bit of progress with that. I'm trying to look for where to get down. I've got 2 different entrances down there at the moment. I've got the proper one, which is over there. And then I still got this one just behind here. And I can show you the progress that we've made with this area so far. And down. So yeah, wait for the night vision to sort of wear off so then you can sort of see it without everything glowing. Come on, disappear night vision. And now, thank you. So we've replaced all the platforms in our slime farm with wood platforms. It matches the area a lot better. And then I also went around the slime farm and done sort of like a zigzaggy pattern with the wood logs just to make it look like a sort of tree base that's been chopped away. And I really like the way that that came out. All 3 of our tree farms are done now, so I went round and I had to use scaffold the entire lot to be able to do the ceilings in them. And now we've got all of our trees grown, ready to be chopped down again. I've been having to harvest a bunch of them for what we're planning on doing in today's episode. But I'm quite happy with the way that all the glass is. Now I've made the sections in between each tree farm. So you've got this section here and that one over there, sort of curving woods with the glass, and that way you've got a good massive section of water that we can then fill with coral reef behind there. And after having laid all the glass and put all the water in, I am not too sure if I want to bother putting like stone sort of framework around it. I'm going to see how it looks after I've added all the coral reef and the sea pickles to lie it all up. And then I may decide to put the stone sort of framework in over it. But I'm quite liking the look of how it is at the moment. And if you're wondering how comes I've not done this wall over here, that is because we're going to be working inside that big hole that I've dug out over there today. And that's because today's episode I want to get a little bit more redstoney, and I actually want to start making our storage system. And there's at least one section of it that I'd like to get done today, and that is the deep storage units. Now, there's a couple of things with the storage system that I want. One is that I want sort of deep storage silos in order to store the large quantities of cobblestone, diorite and whatnot. And then also I want a function that if them silos get full, the excess of that block type just gets destroyed rather than clogging up the rest of our system. So I've got one of 2 options. One is that I have a filter for each type that I want a deep storage silo for, and then underneath the filter have an auto dispensing system that then leads to our deep storage silo. And then if the silo gets filled, where excess blocks just get dropped off into like a fire pit or something. But that's one way of doing it. It means that I'll have to have an auto dispenser under every single one of our filters, which is a little bit of a nuisance. Or I can have 2 sets of filters, so one line of filters which will lead to a dropper, and then underneath that one we can have another line of filters for our deep storage silos. So first of all, it will filter out all the blocks that we want to go towards our silo section, And then the second line of filters will pick up the items, feed it into the silo directly, and if there's no room to actually go into that filter, they will just carry on to get destroyed. That's our two ways of doing it. So got the choice of having two sets of filters or having a auto dispenser under every single one. How big is a filter? Let me just grab some blocks actually. Let me just, because I'm not 100% sure the sort of distance of it. I know that the one that Silent Whisper has created, because there's two different standard item filters that you could do. You've got the Impulse SV one and you've got the Silent Whispers one. I think Silent Whispers one isn't shorter, but it is less width, right? Less width size. But the reason that he created his one is because hoppers were unreliable. We're not actually going to be using hoppers to run the items down. We're going to be using water streams, so that is not actually going to be an issue for us. What do we need? I made a bunch more. I spent ages creating components, by the way, so let's just grab these guys and grab you. Now we don't even need to see what the hopper section is, we just need to see what this guy is. So you've got the standard one, which is, I do believe, like so. And so get you off our hotbar, get you. And then we need some redstone dust. So it will be like a repeater in there, and you've got the comparator there, redstone torch there, and then it's just redstone dust. And then you've got our hoppers, which are at the front. So our filter hopper is going to be just behind this comparator. And then you've got another hopper here feeding down into whatever it is that you want it fed into. And then we'll have probably a line of hoppers leading to one dropper. And that could be our first filter. So let me see, that's going to be what, 2? So yes, 3 high. It'll probably be about 4 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4, which means for this, if we wanted it to be done that way, we would need at least another about 8 blocks room above, which is going to be a little bit of a nuisance. I'm going to have a little think about this and I'll get back to you. Alright then guys, so I've sort of made a decision and I think I figured out a way of doing this so that we don't need an auto dispenser free section and that we won't need a second line of filters in the system. And that is, as long as the hopper is pointing directly into the storage silo after the filter, then it will filter directly into that and that will take priority, and then we can have another line of hoppers underneath that one that's pointing directly into the storage system. So when it does get to an overflow point, that then the second line of hoppers will actually start taking items, I believe, if that's the way that it works. No, I think it works in reverse. So the hopper underneath will take priority, which means we just need the line of hoppers directly underneath, and that should work. Question mark. I do believe that's how it works, but yeah, let's start lining up our chest because I need to get an idea of just how many we are going to need. So we're going to want our input chest to say be about here, maybe a little bit forward because we're going to need some sort of working room, and maybe one back because we're going to want to have some sort of wall to cut off from the outside there. So let's just break these guys, and then our main storage system is going to be over on that side, so that's not a worry. And then we're going to want cobble, stone, dirt, sand, gravel. Then we're going to want the 3 different diorite, granites, and andesite types. So we could actually line these up because the system for the storage silos can actually be tiled right next to each other. So can the actual item filters, so that's not going to be a problem. But what we're going to have to make sure is that we've got room for the water streams to actually take the items. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to need at least a block or so gap in order for the second water stream to take effect, which means this gap here and this one here is going to have to probably be a waterway gap, which is going to be a little bit of a pain, but you know what we can do is that's going to be 1, 2, 3. We can actually have the waterway split up wherever we want, so let's just say we want 3 there, and you can have 1 on this side, 1 on this side. So see, you got the stone, cobblestone, gravel, dirt, sand, andesite, granite, diorite. Is that going to be all of the main ones that we get a lot of? I think it is. The main ones that I want storage silos for. Now, we're not planning on having any major farms in the area, so this is probably going to be the only type of laggy thing that we have, and it's not going to be consistently running all of the time anyway, so we don't really need to worry about the impact on the server too much. If it does become an impact, then obviously I will tear it down and try something else. But for our first one, how high are we going to want this? We're going to want it to be 1, 2, 3, 4, at least about 5. Yeah, I think 5 is more than enough for our sort of deep storage silos. So let's lay all of these down. Alright then guys, so a little bit of a derp on my part there is I actually ended up having to lift them all up by 1 block, and that is because if the pistons were that low down with the redstone torches, it would have been locking this set of hoppers, preventing items from actually going into the chest and feeding through. So yeah, I just had to change that up quickly, and then we are going to want, say, our first double chest to be on the back here. So let's get all of these bits and pieces on us. So 1 like so. And then we're going to want our building block of choice, like that. And have I got my comparators on me? Yes, I do. And we want our comparator just there. And then we want to sort of zigzag the comparators going up like that. And then whilst doing that, we want to be zigzagging our chests. So if I can get a hopper, can I? Why are you not letting me put a hopper in? Come on, you being awkward for? Such a pain sometimes. When you're sort of leaning on a chest, because you're actually lower than a full block, you can't actually put a hopper into the side, and it is a really stupid mechanic, but it is what it is sometimes. So another chest there. And once again, yep, of course, do that. Oh, a little bit more breathing room. I really should have cleared more room before I actually started doing this, but yep, I didn't realise that it was going to be so awkward. Do that. And then our line in is going to be up here. So that is pretty much the storage silo. And now what we need to try to do is build a filter line at the top of it, with that hopper being directly underneath the filter, but then the hopper underneath the filter pushing into another run of hoppers, which will be leading to an overflow point. But before I carry on and do the rest of these, I'm actually going to clear out the area behind and clear more of an area above before we carry on. So yeah, let me get that done. Alright then guys, so after a good half hour, 45 minutes of trying to figure out a way to do this in probably the most efficient fashion that I could find, and I've ended up having to bring the hops up quite high. Now our filter line is this line just along here, and the reason that I've had to bring it up so high is because of that redstone torch there. If it was down 1 lower, it would have been locking this line of hoppers, which is leading to a dispenser for our overflow. And the way that this is all working out, so once the item gets filled into the correct line, so you've got cobble, stone and whatnot, it comes down to this section here, and if we can angle, as you can see here, just above our actual silo for that particular type of item, the hopper's actually pointing into the overflow line. That way, once this hopper here gets full, it won't actually pull anymore. And so I've had to drop it back by one. If I try to run it straight across, then it means that any one of the other silos could have pulled that same item down, which means I've had to pull it back by one and run a separate hopper chain down to the dispenser for it to automatically dispense. And now it's a case of me just putting in each of the individual filters, sorting out the input chest to actually send to a water item elevator to come along here. And then what happens is that after these 8 filters have done their job and filtered out all of the massed items that we're going to be getting from mining and so on, the overflow of it is just going to be pretty much gotten rid of in whichever way we want to. And then the rest of the items will then filter through to what will essentially be the main item sorting system. Now, unfortunately, we're definitely not going to be able to get to the main item sorting system because this has taken me far too long and far too many hoppers. I was not assuming it would use this amount of hoppers. Like, I think I've got 31 left out of, I think it was 4 stacks of hoppers. So, and I know for a fact the full item sorting system is going to use an obscene amount of hoppers. So once I've got the water elevator in and the rest of the filters, and I've actually put the filters in themselves, I've actually gone ahead and named a bunch of items, just filler, just for our filter lines, and then I'll give it a test run when I've got everything in. So yeah, catch you back in a bit. Alright then guys, so I've managed to get all of the water streams in, I've got the water elevator put in, and I've done our 8 filters on the filter line, which means all of this section is sort of ready to go. The only the only things I need to double check, make sure we haven't got any garbage in here, because I need to give a test to make sure that there's no random items going through to the disposery section or the overflow section. And I also got to make sure that these chests aren't going to be picking up anything that they're not meant to be picking up, which means we need a healthy variety of items to throw in. Obviously not glass, but while I'm here I'm going to put that glass away. Sandstone isn't getting filtered, cobblestone is, so let's grab some of you. I'm going to want some granite, diorite, some dirt, andesite, normal stone, and then just to test it to make sure that the other items are going through, we should get the gold come through and it should actually end up just hovering there where we're going to be taking the line to our full item sorting system. So fingers crossed this all works out well and it just doesn't turn out to be a complete flop, because I've spent far too much time on this already today. We just got to make sure that we don't throw that item in, obviously. But there goes our item elevator, and as the items are filtering through into each section, you'll get a little bit of a light show. Now, the indicator light to show how full it is, the first one won't actually go on until the first double chest at the back is full, which means you'll need at least 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, at least 35 stacks of an item before you actually get an indicator light staying on. But so far, it looks like we're just filtering the cobble. And we've got another item filtering through this line, which is diorite. Okay, elevator's still working. It doesn't appear to be causing much lag at all with all the lights flickering, but I am currently the only one on as is. So why is that pausing every now and again? All of them seem to be going up fine. And everything looks to be okay. Gonna have to hop up after all of this is fed through and just make sure that that gold is there, and to make sure that nothing has fed through to the overflow. And we're good there so far, so it's all looking like happy days for our deep storage silo. It's quite interesting, it's quite fun just to see the patterns that they sort of come up with as they're all blinking through. And if you're wondering why all the lights are blinking, it's where the items are filtering through each section. So as it passes through this hopper, it's activating that comparator. When it passes through this chest, it's then activating that one, which gives you the sort of indicator thing that items are actually passing through them sections. And so far it looks to be working alright. Yep. I'm a little bit concerned how comes the item elevator is being a little bit inconsistent. But I'm going to let these guys filter through for a second or two, because actually it should be done any second now. I'm not too sure how many items are currently in that dropper though. And the reason how comes I've used a dropper down there instead of a dispenser, that is purely because in case we have arrows come through the system, I don't want it firing a load of arrows into the wall. Because them arrows will stay there, I think it's for like 4 or 5 minutes, and if I happen to have a large quantity of arrows pass through at the same time, it may cause unnecessary lag. Okay, what I may do is put some lights like glowstone just along the top there and along the top there, just to sort of reduce any sort of lag caused by the flickering of the redstone torches, because we're also going to have a bunch of the redstone torches sort of helping us sort the items in our main sorting system. It may introduce a little bit of lag, but that is yet to be determined until I've built the entire thing. But as it stands at the moment, I'm not getting any frame rate drops or any sort of lag or stutteriness, and I don't appear to be having any issues with items going to the overflow before anything is full. And we're getting the items going through to the correct chests. This one, I don't know, I think this one might be an item that I've not put through yet. Could be gravel, I think that one is. Sand, cobble, stone. Looks like our item elevator is now finished. Let's see if we can hop up there and just make sure that that gold has actually gone through over to there. And yep, that is the only item that has actually made it through. So let's just see if we can't grab them. Thank you. But yeah, that is our storage silo sort of done and dusted, which means we could then carry on to our next main part of our storage system. I'm quite happy to have got this out of the way. It used way more hoppers than I was expecting it to use, but it's actually a lot less lag causing than I thought it may have been with this amount of hoppers. And I'm quite happy with that, mainly because we've got still use a bunch of hoppers for our main storage system. I don't think it's actually as many as in the deep silo storage, because obviously every single double chest here is still only being done for one item, and this, before it even gets up to the storage section, is what, 4, 5, 6, 7 hoppers, while the main storage system is, I think it's like only one hopper behind every double chest, and that's it. But we are going to have a fair few chests to sort out all of our stuff to make it easier for us. But yeah, rather than just ending the episode here, what I am going to do is show you the other bits and pieces that I've been working on between here. And me and Mac actually made a couple of changes to the gold farm, so I'm going to head over there and show you them. Alright then, just got over here at the gold farm. It's around about a 4 or 5 minute journey by the minecart track that I've laid. It's like 2,500 blocks. It's a bit of a joke getting here and back, but it's a lot quicker through the nether if I go to Mac's house and then fly here. But when I'm in the minecart, I can then go off and do something else that needs to be done. But Mac had a good idea of actually bringing in some cleric villagers over here. So that way we've got somewhere to get rid of all of the rotten flesh that the zombie pigmen are dropping, and at the same time make some emeralds, which is happy days. And yeah, I'm quite happy with the way to set out. So we've laid up some of the, I was about to say shells there, the little holding cells for the villagers, and then we converted them one by one, so then they're all dedicated to their own bed and own workstation, which is all happy days there. And then we're collecting the books, and the reason that we're collecting the books is because me and Mac are going in together to actually open a bookshop in town of selling the enchanted books, which is all happy days there. We actually had to buy out the rights to sell books in town because someone had already opened an enchanted bookstore. What have we got down there? I think he's cleared most of it out lately. Yeah. So yes, we actually had to gives someone a bunch of free book tokens to buy the rights of selling enchanted books, because he didn't want to keep up with the constant restocking of the enchanted books. And between me and Mac, we're quite easily going to be able to keep up with the restocking of the shop, which won't be a problem. And what we are going to do, we've actually been collabing on a build to put into town together, but I'll probably save that for the next episode because we are getting on time a bit. And stupid llamas, he's going to spit at me. Yep, thank you. These guys are just everywhere. They get so annoying. Yeah, so I think that's going to be it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. Hopefully you don't mind a little bit of the redstone work, especially considering that the next episode is probably going to be a little bit redstoney as well, considering that we want to finish off that storage system in the next episode, and then I can show the finished shop that we're going to have in town, which is going to be our first shop on the server, which means fingers crossed it all goes well. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye.